stinks. I hated it. Jays lose 11-7 in the first game of a 3-game set at the Dome against the Houston Astros. Yeah, that's right. Them again. Yusei Kikuchi on the hill for the Jays against Jose Urquidy. Yeah, this seemed like a mismatch from the beginning, and while Urquidy wasn't great, Kikuchi was actually pretty awful, so it ends up going the way you think it would. We'll start with the positives. Some really nice offensive individual performances today. Raimel Tapia, 4 hits. Great job. Matt Chapman had a couple of hits, including a long home run, way up into almost the 5th deck. At the facing of the 5th deck. That was a bomb, so he's looking good here. Of course, he also had a couple of really frustrating strikeouts, so good with the bad. Vlad, while he also let some very hittable pitches go right by him in this one, he also got an absolute meatball of a hanging breaking ball that he deposited into the left field seats. A 3-run home run that tied the game at the time. So clutch home runs from Vlad are back on the menu. Love to see that. Santiago Yespinal keeps on hitting. He had a couple of hits, including a double. Tyler Heineman continues to show that he actually owns a bat. He had a couple of hits, including a double today. That was nice. And then he got pinch hit for by Alejandro Kirk, who then struck out. I really didn't understand that moment. But anyway, Heineman, looking good. Overall, offensively, a nice night for the Jays. 7 runs, double-digit hits. You love to see all that. We're going to win a game that you scored 7 runs more times than not this season, so not much to take away from that one other than to say, great work. Nice to see them starting to come out of it. Hopefully we plug in Teoscar Hernandez in about a week and all's gravy, right? Okay, so now we gotta talk about the not so fun stuff. Yusei Kikuchi had a real bad game. Real bad. And I'm not just talking about the results. I'm talking about his process was baffling and frustrating and a step backwards, I think. Like, Pat Tabler was talking up during the broadcast about how he's going to look like a whole new pitcher because he's going to rely upon his fastball. That he's got this great 95-mile-an-hour four-seam fastball from a left-handed pitcher. There's only 5 guys who throw that hard in the whole league, and he's going to be that guy. He's going to attack with the fastball and get ahead early and keep, putting the guys on the defensive, right? That's what we're going to see from Kikuchi. No! We saw that for 2 batters, and it was really effective. And then he just decided, no, I'm gonna throw my cutter though. And it's just yeah, these Astros have seen that cutter. You played in Seattle. They saw you a lot. They're waiting for your cutter. They're expecting it. They're going to hit it, and hit it they did. It was just really frustrating to watch because it's very obvious that Houston is deeply familiar with this pitcher, so it makes sense that you should change up your approach so that you can kind of confound them a little bit, put them back on their heels, give them something they're not expecting. Makes perfect sense. And you start doing that, and it's effective. And then you stop doing that, and then you get hit. Why did you stop, man? The fact that Pete Walker went out there and talked to him 4 friggin' times in not even 3 innings is a great indication of he must have been pretty frustrated too. He goes out there and be like, what did we talk about? Fastball. We talked about the fastball, right? And you say it's just yeah, but my cutter? No, fastball. Gotcha. Cutter. Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say about it other than if he had a game plan that involved fastballs, he didn't stick to it. If he had a game plan that involves cutters, he stuck to it, and that's bad. It's just hard to get a handle on where he is in this supposed reformation process that Pete Walker is putting him through. If you're trying to turn him into a guy who relies upon his fastball to get ahead and then uses off-speed stuff away from the strike zone to kind of put guys away, we're not there yet. We're not even close, and it doesn't look like the player has bought into that process entirely because when he gets to game action, he's unwilling to trust his fastball for very long. So now the team is in a position where the starter has only given them 2 2/3 innings. We now have to rely upon the bullpen, which for some reason means that the first guys you tap to come on out to save the day are Trent Thornton and Taylor Saucedo. And for the love of God, Charlie, never again, ever again, ever. I've said in a previous video that I never want to see Trent Thornton come in a tie game ever again. Now, that wasn't quite the situation here. Trent came in to get the last out of the 3rd inning when Kikuchi couldn't. 1 pitch, 1 out, that's fine. And then the bottom half of the inning, Vlad hits a clutch 3-run home run to tie the game. And then Thornton's still out there. And I guess that's the biggest problem I have is that, okay, you want Thornton out there to eat some innings? Okay, so you had him in there for the 4th inning, and he promptly gave up a run to give up the lead again, but he gave you an inning. And then you pulled him, and you put in Taylor Saucedo, who's worse. But my first problem is, okay, if you're only looking for a guy to give you an inning in the 3rd, why was it Trent Thornton? Especially once the team tied the game. Get Thornton out of there. He's your bulk guy there to absorb innings, and if he's not there to absorb innings, he shouldn't be out there. I didn't get that. I didn't get his usage in that situation. If you're using him as a bulk guy, fine. If you're looking for someone to get outs to try to win the game, fine. But the two are mutually exclusive. You don't have Trent Thornton out there to hold a tie game and keep the enemy down. That's just not what he does. Okay, so you come to the 5th inning, and you're only down by 1 run, and that's certainly not an insurmountable lead ever, but certainly not with the way this team is playing. And you bring in Taylor Saucedo? I have generally been relatively impressed with Charlie's bullpen usage to this point. I thought he's done a great job. I'm certainly mindful of the fact that he is trying to navigate 30 games in 31 days. I know he doesn't want to overwork anybody. I totally get that. But a whole bunch of the Blue Jays' regular high-end relievers had not been used at this point in the game. So why was Saucedo in there? So Saucedo predictably puts 2 guys on and then less predictably gets hurt. So now you're reaching for your regulars anyway. So what was the point of the Saucedo little venture there? I really don't know. Richards comes in and does a fabulous job getting out of the fire, gets a double play ball and then gets a fly out. No problem, no harm, no foul. Great job there. And then you bring him in for a 2nd inning. I think most relievers on this team are built for 1 really good inning as opposed to multiple innings, hence the existence of Trent Thornton in the first place. But I think Trevor Richards in particular has terrible numbers in a 2nd inning of work. And that gets borne out here. He puts a couple on and then Jeremy Pena, of all people, lights him up for a big 3-run home run. And that ended up being the back-breaking, game-winning run right there, was that home run. And, you know, yes, it would have been nice if Richard got those guys out, and most of the time I guess he would, but, you know, Jimmy Garcia is just still sitting out there, man. Adam Simber's just sitting out there. These are the guys who you have had no problem using when they weren't used the day before. Simber was used the day before, but Garcia was completely fresh. Why didn't you use him there? Or if you want to use Merriweather like you did later on in the game, use him here, give him a fresh inning, get Richards out. There were a couple of decisions with the bullpen today that I just didn't make sense at the moment, and he got away with a couple of them, but not that one. That's the one that ended up losing the game. Like Phelps had a great inning later on. He would have been really good in the 5th inning. Garcia, like I said, an earlier use of Merriweather. Simber has gone back-to-back days lots of times. Why would you leave Richards in there for an extra inning when you've never used him like that before? And previous times in his career when he's been used like that have had usually disastrous results. It was just baffling. It was just kind of like you had this idea that you wanted to give Garcia 2 days off. You didn't want to use Simber more than 1 day. You didn't want to use him back-to-back days. I don't get it. I don't get it. All of this largely comes from Kikuchi only giving you 2 2/3 innings in his start. That sets you back about as much as Manoah giving you 7 innings yesterday puts you ahead. Like, it cancels out this unbelievable work that Manoah did for you because now you have a great outing from your ace starter who saves the bullpen and you win, and then you have a terrible outing from your 5th starter who gives you no innings, burns out your bullpen, and you lose. So all that great work that Manoah did yesterday just feels like it got washed away. Okay, wash it away. This game was the best of times, and it was the worst of times. We're starting to see some nice things from the offense. Another performance like this, you like to think we're going to win that almost every time. But then this current state of the back of the starting rotation and the back of the bullpen really does look like it needs to be addressed, and sooner rather than later. One other note, talking about how good the offense was, we have to talk about, I'm not sure if we're at that point yet, but we're very close to the point where we have to talk about moving Bo Bichette down the lineup. Sorry. Guy has been extraordinary for his young MLB career the entire time, and it's almost all of it been out of the number 2 hole in the lineup. So we know he can be effective there, and we know he will be effective there again. But right now, he's kind of a liability during this stretch when you need to accumulate as many runs as possible and as many wins as possible during this really difficult stretch of the schedule. And right now, having George Springer hitting well, Vlad Guerrero being really dangerous, even when he's not hitting well, he can still run into a fastball at any time, and having this out machine right in the middle of them just killing rallies all the time is a big problem. He needs to get his at-bats, he needs to be able to work through this, but I don't see any reason why he can't do that hitting in this number 7 or number 8 hole just as well. We've got Santiago Espinal, who is hitting like a number 2 hitter right now. I propose we just swap them. You move Bo to 8, you move Santiago Espinal to number 2, and I think we might end up stringing a lot more hits together and scoring more runs, especially early in the game. Okay, we move on to tomorrow. The Houston Astros are still in town, but they get to face Jose Barrios this time around, which hopefully is a little bit more intimidating of a prospect, because, yeah, those guys were in no way uncomfortable today. Thank you very much for watching this video and for watching this channel. If you like what you see, like and subscribe, etc., etc. I will see you tomorrow afternoon, I think. Yeah, that's kind of fun. Anyway, whenever it is, see you tomorrow.